Hi guys, how you doing? It's me again, James, and this is the video for Esoteric Essay number 14. I told you I was right. Look, here it is right here. It's a little marked up. You should see the version I put out to the group members, man. It is a catastrophe with voice dictation errors, but I posted pictures of this so they could see the more corrected version. I'm going to do this video. But it's still a little rough, but it's right there. But there could be some changes later on. But this is Esoteric Essay video number 14. The America's Secret History. We didn't know and probably wished we didn't once we did. Part 1. So, there's 13 of these essays before this. And I have like 7 videos on YouTube right now for like the first 7 or 8, and you should go watch those. Watch them after this. Hopefully I did this so you could understand this, but if you could go through them in order, that would help you a lot. So this is number 14, and this has to do with the America's Secret History. So first of all, I'd like you guys to go do something first. There is a video online on YouTube for the Million Man March that happened in like 1995 with Louis Farrakhan. And I highly suggest you go find this and watch this. It's like 3 hours long, 2.5, 3 hours long. But you gotta watch this whole thing, and then I'm gonna make it make a lot more sense, because he says some weird stuff in this thing that really ties to the secret history of this country and the ones around it. So right here is the link. Right there. I'm going to put it in the show notes. I always wanted to say that. It says, go watch that video. I'll still be here. Hit pause. And when you hit pause, please hit like and subscribe. That would help me a whole lot. And share, please. But go watch this video and see and listen to exactly what these people are saying in this thing. And then pay attention to what's happened ever since then, and come back and then watch the rest of this video. And I'm going to start filling in some pieces here. But right now I'm going to start reading. And where should I start? Because I got to get the stuff out of there about the video. But like I said, go watch this video first. It's the Million Man March video. And now come back and they just activated my speaker in the other room. They don't like me doing these videos. So, okay, here we go. Hit pause. Unpause. Start the essay. Esoteric Essay 14, America's Secret History We Didn't Know and Probably Wished We Didn't Once We Did. First of all, I need to point out in advance right now that this whole entire march was like a ceremony in a way to a religion and a belief system. See, I told you, you gotta go watch this march. You really need to listen to the exact words these people use and what they really mean, and who they are dedicating, worshiping all of this to, and what's really going on here at this Million Man March. Louis Farrakhan briefly brushes by the statement that they were the original people here on Earth. And sort of like he knows a little secret, but then he quickly goes on to something else. And then a little while later, maybe even a few moments later, he brings up Egypt. And then shortly after this starts talking about all of the monuments here and their heights and everything. Like all the Washington monuments, this and the is 555 feet, and these ones are this tall. If you got to go back and watch it. So Louis Farrakhan, hold on. Some weird secret society stuff that he's talking about, and almost no one knows what's really going on or what he's really saying here, unless you know some secrets. This whole thing seems very weird if you have no clue what he's talking about. So the more you know about ancient religions, and especially secret societies and hidden things, you'll start to understand what Louis Farrakhan is hinting at. That they were the original pharaohs and rulers of this planet, and he is using Egypt and the United States as evidence, but he's doing and saying it cryptically to other governments and societies. Most of what he is saying is not true at all, but I can see why he has come to this conclusion because of the limited knowledge that he has. There's evidence all over the black part of the music industry that have trails of this belief system embedded in it. You gotta listen sometimes to what these people are really singing. Just don't go do 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 to the beat. You see, we all like to shake our booties, but sometimes listen to the words. This is why they call Beyonce and other singers gods and goddesses, along with some of the actors and actresses, and some people being from a special bloodline from the past. I mean, they all do this. Tupac and his mom believed him to be the reincarnated soul from ancient Mexico during the Aztec times. And Tupac was singing an awful lot about killing the Illuminati and secret societies. And he sang about a lot of very weird things. He did. He did. And this is why he was murdered, along with many others in the music industry. There really is an agenda going around by militant black Muslims claiming to be the original owners of this land using their limited knowledge. In a way, I can see why they are claiming this, even though it's entirely wrong. Before the flood, there was a giant civilization here in the Americas and in many other places that are not even talked about or written about, that are completely wiped out and gone now forever. Some are underwater and you can see remnants, but the ones that were on land are mostly wiped out, especially the ones in the upper Americas. You can see little bits and pieces of remnants of things that remain on the planet that they give credit to some people for building just a couple of thousands of years ago, like the pyramids and many other things. These are all lies and all wrong. Just toss it away. There is something in the Americas that was so grandiose, if I tried to explain it, man, no one will ever believe me. And it is almost entirely gone, except for very small bits and pieces that lay scoured around in plain sight, but mistaken for different things like giant boulders. They used to be building blocks, and lots of weird stuff if you really pay attention. Almost everything is gone, and there is a little bit that is underground that remains okay or whatever. The ruins in Mexico are child's play compared to what used to be up here. Up here. This civilization was utterly destroyed, and I've written a little bit about how that happened in some of my other essays. There were huge wars, fights, catastrophes, natural disasters, giant earthquakes, and then a flood to wash all the crap down the toilet. This civilization genetically modified itself, and that's why there are so many versions of humans and human-like beings and other creatures on this planet and this has gone on for quite a while. But it was really bad at the end of this time period. And others, man. But this was one of them, man. This was, all right. I'm not even talking about the genetically modified animals that were in this civilization that we now call dinosaurs. But I've written about them in one of my other essays. But the genetic modification on humans and things were crazy. And people were pretty much lumped into different categories depending on what body they were in and what color it was, among other things. In this era, before the flood, there was a watcher claiming to be a god ruling over this area, and they sorted things out by color and genetic modification in this region. It was done differently in other areas because there were many other watchers that were claiming to be gods scattered all over this planet doing similar or entirely different things. It all depended on which one was doing what and where. Where'd I go? This watcher had a white priestly class, and then everything else was sorted by a lot of different things that has been so mixed up now it's almost stupid to bring it up. But there are trails and evidences still in existence because our bodies are slightly different, even though some classes tried to stay separate from each other. That didn't last very long. People like to mingle, if you know what I mean. At one point, everything was basically done by AI, artificial technology, and machines, and no one was really a slave. But there were very different kinds of classes of people. And some people had it horribly bad still, and other people didn't. They loved life, and things were very unfair in a lot of ways. Hold on. Okay, so at one point everything was basically done by AI machines, and no one was really a slave, but they were again sorted by color and other things. Some things were not considered human at all, and I have written about two of these things. One being the gray alien, the synths, and the other being the giant / the Bigfoot, the ancestors or descendants of the giants. It's hard to compare what a Bigfoot is now to what the original giants were back in the day because so much has happened. But these beings were huge, and they were controlled, and they did a huge amount of manual labor because they were so large. The aliens are more machine than anything else, and they are linked to a supercomputer, and that's what controlled them, and they did what they did. And I've written a little bit about this in my UFO essay. Someone had to sort of rule over and control the giants at one time because there were so many of them. So the black-colored population, the class, ended up getting themselves in a position and got control of that job and class structure along with other things. But they got that control of that. Some of the original giants in this civilization's time were controlled completely, and this was done telepathically, and people controlling them had to wear a helmet. These original giants at the time had what some people came to call spikes embedded into them that allowed them to be taken over completely by the person wearing the helmet telepathically. Like the Neuralink, anybody? Early stages, I guess, they're trying to do. Wonder why they're even trying to do that. This was early technology that needed the spikes, but later on they were not needed anymore. So this sort of explains these giant Olmec heads that have been found lying around all over the place. You know, the giant Olmec heads, there's one in Washington, there's some down by the Mayan pyramids, and some down in, there's like 10 or 12, whatever, I can't remember, but they found some, or they have some. Ancient Aliens loves to show them, and they're like, look, here's some aliens, or look, here's this, here. And you guys, if you're watching, you should be quite interested in this. Here's some disclosure. So I said this was early technology that needed the spikes, but later on they were not needed. So this explains the Olmec heads all over. So these things clearly depict a black person wearing a helmet that looks sort of like a football helmet of today. This is something that was made showing what was going on at this time, this early time period. The only thing that is missing is a giant statue of a giant. But man, you don't understand how hard that'd be to make. But there are huge legends all over the place, all over South America and this country, the United States, about giants building something all over the place that was destroyed, or giants all over the place. Just start looking. So, like I said, all this crap was going on, and a whole lot more that you would never believe if I tried to tell you. All of this crap ended up getting totally destroyed except for little bits and pieces, and most of that's underground. So that sort of explains things like Area 51 and why that whole area is covered up. And it explains like the Aztec legends of underground cities and Native American legends of underground cities. And I've written about all these things in my other essays. And you can either read them at my group or watch them on the video, but there's still some more. But I want to tell you about Area 51, not being really about aliens, it's covering up something from the past. So this is true in a lot of these ancient sites all over the planet. No matter what their current legends tell you about them, are all mostly lies in order to mislead or confuse you, like Area 51. Notice how all these sites are basically fenced off, and totally controlled by a government or some group. Like Area 51. There's more, but like also like the Temple Mount and the pyramids and all these ancient sites are all locked off, man. You gotta, some of them are tourist traps because they can't hide the pyramid. I mean, so they're like, let's make some money on this while we can. The absolute giant megalithic structures that were here in the Americas got almost completely wiped off the map and totally destroyed as the landscape was utterly changed. But there were a bunch of survivors that were in protective shelters underground and hiding like little chicken shit bitches while leaving most of us outside to die ourselves. Eventually, survivors came from underground and slowly started banding together and gaining control of certain lost technologies. These things that sort of survived with them or in other places that they knew of. And some of these people got a hold of some of this technology that allowed them to control the giants at the time. And that was some of the same people who were tasked with taking care of the giants before the catastrophe happened originally. This was the black class of people that survived, and they used the technology that they had possession of to take control of almost everybody that survived. And they started using them as slaves to fix as much as they could and rebuild a civilization to take control. That was later, but at first, the black class used as many of the giants that they could find. But a lot of them were killed because they were not allowed into many shelters. Only a few that were made for them. And these bastards were pretty big, man, so I mean, these shelters were big. After a while, the controllers of this technology started using it against more than just the giants. They started using this against other classes of people. And one of those people's descendants are the people we now call Native American, Aztec, Mayan, and quite a lot of other things, like Eskimos and Indians and whatever. This went on for a short time, for history's sake. I mean, remember, this happened like 10,000 years ago. But it did last for decades and decades until another catastrophe happened that destroyed most of the little that was left and rebuilt. And this catastrophe also activated the synths, what we call the gray aliens, and what the Native Americans would later lovingly call the ant people, to help them during a huge catastrophe that took them underground to live and survive until it was safe again. The Native Americans talk all about this. And if you are an Ancient Alien fan, you should start recognizing some of this story here from different time periods. This catastrophe that ended up wiping out this little brief part of secret lost forgotten history was caused when the black class that were using the helmets against the brown class lost control of their technology and it stopped working properly, and the brown class sort of woke up and quickly took over and killed almost everyone they could find, but then set off a chain reactions of explosions that wiped out and buried what was left. This is a brief part of time that Louis Farrakhan is talking about secretly during his Million Man March. This is also some of the time periods that some of the singers are talking about in their songs. I mean, some are talking about other times. The singers that have been initiated in some of the secret societies that believe they know everything, but they only got bits and pieces. And if they knew everything, they sure wouldn't be proud of having anything to do with this time. Because the brown-colored races and the few remaining giants were treated so badly by these people, it still sort of resonates in the geography of our land and the fighting between the brown and black people even to this very day. I mean, you have to start to get down to Haiti to really get to some of the areas that are more controlled by black people today. The rest of Mexico and all of America and Canada was basically the land of the Mexicans, Aztecs, whatever you want, Mayan, after they took over and forced what little black people were left as far away as possible after the uprising and destruction during that time period back then. These cultures still don't really like each other to this day, and they don't even really know why. I mean, but their gangs fight with each other and everything. I mean, part of it's because the governments and secret societies are making everybody fight with each other. Both of these cultures are fiercely fighting for this land because they both believe it was theirs originally. If you get deep down into their secret society crapola. What we have today is a result of what was going on over 10,000 years ago and even further into the past. If you're an Ancient Aliens fan, this sort of helps explain to you the whole handbag Olmec crap going on at all of the sites down in Mexico and other places. Or you know what I mean. None of this, I mean, you guys keep changing the names of everything on it. None of this had anything to do with little gray aliens from another planet. They were from here the entire time because we created them a long, long time ago. Like we are trying to do again right now with the early stages of artificial intelligence and these little silly robots. But that's like the robots. It hasn't turned into let's merge this with human flesh. So this is where I stop right here. This was part 1. And there could be dozens and dozens of parts. Oh, see, look, you're welcome. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to put this link in the show notes for the Million Man March so you guys can watch this, because it's important. So you understand a little bit of what this guy's trying to hint at. And I'll come back with some more parts. And hope you guys are okay. Stay peaceful. Stop fighting. Later, guys.